they all concluded that actually just go home, go and get your house in order, and we're really sorry, there's nothing we can do.
They gave you a death sentence.
It just didn't seem that there was really anything out there that could potentially help me. And that's where cold therapy came up. Nothing works as well as cold water. I have not even had a head cold for over a year.
You are 10 months past the date they said you were supposed to be dead.
I'm enjoying life, and I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I could be dead in 12 months for all I know, but all I do know is that I have bags of energy. I sleep like a baby, and I wake up every day ready to put in a good 12-hour stint. I've got way too much to live for and to be thinking about than to let this be the main thing in my life.
You told me an interesting story, and I said, I want to get that story recorded and share it with people. And so I'm hoping that you can put yourself in that frame of mind of telling that story again.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer back in 2018. And I started with some treatment. The standard of care here is sort of radiation, a bit of chemotherapy, which was about 5 weeks. And then after that, it was, okay, let's just watch and wait. That's what they call it over here. I don't know whether it's the same with you guys, but it was regular scans, every 3 months to check the progress or whatever. And anyway, then we sort of hit the pandemic, and there was a bit of a mess up really with my care. I wasn't getting the scans at the right time. I changed oncologists for kind of another opinion. And in that time, I went to stage 4. And so they did a bit of radiation, and then they said, look, we've sort of maxed out on your radiation now. And there was an opportunity there to actually have surgery, but because of the pandemic and the delay in getting scans and getting treatment, I then got to a point where it was inoperable. So that was probably 18 months ago, I suppose, that they just said, look, I got another opinion, and sort of 2 or 3 opinions, and they all concluded that actually just go home, go and get your house in order, and we're really sorry, there's nothing we can do. So that was a real shock. And it was I just sort of felt I was very much on my own. I just didn't really feel that there was, they basically laid it out, we can't do any more. And so it was kind of a stage of, right, well, we can give you palliative care, palliative chemo. And I just didn't really want to go down that route. I've in the last 5 years, I've just done a lot of research on cancer. So I just had to move away from oncologists. It was like banging my head against a brick wall. I don't know what the standard of care is where you are, but I always feel in the UK, perhaps we're a little bit behind. I don't know. When I've spoken to oncologists about alternative treatments that I've been doing here at home, I just get, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to help you. So I just stopped. And I've really just been kind of just winging it really since.
Tell me about some of the things you've been doing while you're winging it without the support or advice of your oncologists.
Yeah. So first of all, it's dietary changes have been, I've tried a few things, to be honest. Dietary changes have been predominantly intermittent fasting, and I try and do a sort of 24-hour fast once a week as well. And that's, I think that has really helped me. I tried a vegan diet for a while, but my energy just tanked, and I couldn't sustain it. I know some people get on really well with it, but it was just, I just couldn't do it. And so I eat good quality meat. Probably just have a meal a day with meat, really high quality, and just get off the processed stuff, get off the sugar, get off the refined carbs and that sort of thing. But I eat sensibly, you know. I think I probably try and eat as the whole foods and just be sensible about it. We've just had Christmas, and I enjoyed Christmas, and I got involved, and I let my hair down a bit. But, you know, I'm back on it now, and I think, you know, you have to be sensible about these things. You've got to live as well, right? So that was the sort of main dietary changes, and introducing meat back into my diet was good for my energy. I just couldn't cope very well without it. But so those have been the main things, and then lots of supplements. And I also do parasite protocols. So that would be sort of ivermectin or fenbendazole, and the hot and cold therapies. So I'm sat behind my cold bath, my cold plunge, which I bought probably 18 months ago. And that is, I absolutely do that 100% every single day. And if it's not once a day, it's twice a day, sometimes 3 times. I just see it as an essential part of my life now. Likewise for the sauna, I have an infrared sauna. So I probably do that 3 or 4 times a week and get it. I mean, I never know with infrared saunas. I basically have it as hot as I can, because I like the heat and it's nice to enjoy it. And I'll do that sort of half an hour for, like I say, 3 or 4 times a week. And it's very enjoyable.
Will you tell us about what temperature and how much time? Like, how do you do your cold water?
Sure. So I started with literally a tub in the garden, and it was summer. I couldn't get the water temperature down much, but it was sort of 15. So we do centigrade over here, so I'm not sure for your listeners.
Right.
Yeah. So 15 degrees centigrade. That's the coldest I could get it in an English summer and then I sort of progressed to, right, let's fill the bath up and put a load of ice in and freeze as much ice as I could. I could never get it quite down. So actually I sort of saved up, bought this ice bath, and so I then would start at sort of 10 degrees, and now I've got it down to 2 degrees, which is the coldest this one will do. And
what did you buy?
I think I did write down actually. So that 2 degrees is 35 Fahrenheit. There you go. And so I do that 3 minutes every morning, as soon as I get up, 3 minutes. And then throughout the day, I get pain in my hip. And I think that's possibly cancer. It's possibly the amount of radiation that I've had, but I very much use it as a pain management tool as much as anything. And so I'll do that probably at the end of the day as well. So I'm still working full time. I've got a very physical job. This time of the year, we've got a vineyard, so we're out pruning all weathers. It's very cold here at the moment. It's a sort of minus sub-zero temperatures, but so that's really conditioned me quite well for staying outside all day. And I will do normally an ice bath in the evening as well, just to calm everything down. But I also try and do it after meals. So I'd read a study about the sort of brown fat taking up the the glucose. And I thought, well, okay, if I do it after meals, I've just eaten, that might be a good time to stimulate that brown fat. So, and this is all, I mean, I'm not a professional, I've never spoken to a friend. This is me just going, I know what I'll do. We'll try that. Anyway, it seems to be helping me. So that's kind of what my aim is every day, is at least once a day, if not twice. And then I have the sauna, which I'll do, as I say, 3 or 4 times a week. And that's normally about half an hour at about 75 degrees centigrade again. So, yeah, it's not the hottest, but I understand that near saunas don't need to necessarily be as hot. So, yeah.
Your intuitions are outstanding. To do a little cold exposure, either before or after a meal, it revs up your brown fat, it clears the glucose from your bloodstream. And if your tumor is like most tumors, it needs that glucose to grow, to proliferate. And so when you activate your brown fat and you starve the tumor, you will be inhibiting the growth of the tumor. But I want to share an observation. You don't look like a stage 4 cancer patient. You look energetic. You look vibrant. You look healthy. You're so upbeat. You don't at all fit the stereotypical image that we would have of someone living with a death sentence. How do you track your progress? I mean, I can see that you feel good about it and the quality of life has gone up, if nothing else. But is there something medically that you're doing to measure whether your tumor is shrinking?
No. So I stopped, as I say, I stopped the scans. I said, I'm not going into that hell house again. It's too much for me. The waiting rooms, the drama of waiting, the crying, people cry. It's like hell, you know, and the slow opening of the door, you know, you may come in and see me now. And I you know, what is this? This is not trying to help anyone. It's bringing me down. My head was all over the place. And then you get the absolute, well, you can't do anything. There's nothing you can do. And you hear that enough times. I thought, I'm going to start believing them, you know, and I don't want to do that. I have 2 young children. I have a job. I run a business. I have plans. It's not my plan to have this happen to me. So I track through. I have my blood work done. So probably every 6 months. And in all honesty, I even question whether I want to do that, given the fact that we know they can't do anything. I'm kind of, you know, is there any point doing these blood work? Because for me, it's the same thing. We're just going through the same process of waiting for results and all this sort of thing, and then comparing it to your last results, and just it's quite a traumatic thing to go through. And so I guess when I had the reoccurrence, I just thought, you know, this isn't going to be my identity. I'm not going to see on my Instagram, I never talk about it. Very few people actually close to me, my immediate family and friends know about it, but I just don't really talk in public about it till now. And I just don't want it to be my identity. So I just let it go. And that's not easy. I get therapy and I talk to somebody every couple of weeks, and I think that's really important. I listen to a lot of podcasts, I inform myself, I try and keep up with anything that's alternative that might be useful to me. But I think most importantly, I just say this isn't me, my diagnosis is not who I am, and actually I've got way too much to live for and to be thinking about than to let this be the main thing in my life, you know.
Wonderful. You remind me of a customer that we have in New Jersey. She has ovarian cancer. She's been through 4 rounds of chemo, and I think you've seen her story on my Instagram. The chemo, of course, made her miserable, and it wasn't helping. So the doctors recommended more chemo. And
Mm.
she said, forget it. I've had enough. I want to live my life. She got an ice bath, and she wanted to know if the ice bath could help her cancer. I can't make any promises. I don't know. I've talked to other people who have these wonderful stories, but I'm not a medical doctor, and we're not prescribing anything. She decided she wanted to give it a try. The quality of her life is so much better. She
Right.
gets her blood tested every month to track
Mhm.
her cancer biomarkers. And it's not because she needs to make a decision. It's not
Mhm.
because, if there's a certain number in her blood marker that she would change anything about her life. But there is something about that feedback, or maybe she's just habituated, that she still wants to know. And I don't blame her. But I wrote to her and said, what difference does it make? You're
Mm.
dancing again. You're closer to your husband now than you ever have been.
Yeah.
You're enjoying your life. You're going out to eat again. Whatever is happening with your blood markers, what does it matter now that you feel like you have your life back?
Yeah.
And I think you're so far ahead in adopting this mindset, because
Yeah.
you are 10 months past the date they said you were supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
Every day is like a gift in
Yeah.
that mindset. What does it matter what your scan or your blood markers say? Having said that, people want to know. But
Mm.
you don't want to be identified as a cancer patient first. You're a farmer. You're a mom. You're a businesswoman.
Mhm.
You have so many of these other things, which are things to live for, as opposed to an identity, which is to die for. And I get it. But thank you for sharing your story, because there are so many other people who are scared and anxious, and
Mm.
they want to know, what should I do? They're having the same experiences in the oncologist's office that you're having, and something in their intuition says, this doesn't feel right to me. But
Mm.
they haven't done your research. They
No.
don't know what to trust. And so hearing from you, I think, is really important for them.
Yeah. I think as well, I think you get that real instinct that I thought, if I take chemotherapy, if I really go down that route, I know my immune system's going to struggle, and I didn't want to suppress my immune system. I think I knew enough at that point to think, actually, this is the time to have a really good immune system. I have not even had a head cold for over a year. There's they Everyone around me has had the over here. There's been this horrible flu, sort of COVID type flu-y virus. It's gone through the whole school. My friends and my family have had it. I didn't even get a head cold. Old me would have picked it up straight away, and I really feel like the cold baths, the cold exposure. I mean, I never realized that being cold would be my friend, and now I'm sort of seeking it and I'm enjoying it. And I'm like, yeah, it's doing me so much good that I as well as the cold bath. So we have a local pool that is not heated, outdoor pool. And so I swim there a couple of times a week as well. And just for a mix up, really, a bit of difference. But I'm out there swimming and I love it. It's windy and horrible and cold, and but for me, it's like become my sanctuary, and it's like, how this is such madness. We live such comfortable lives that sort of seeking discomfort seems like an odd thing, right? But it's become my friend, and I miss it. If we go away for a couple of days, I'm like, I need to get in that cold bath. And I think it's just so important to have a strong immune system, and I think that the ice bath has definitely accelerated that. And yeah, I'm enjoying life, and I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I could be dead in 12 months for all I know, but all I do know is that I've passed that date. I don't get any sniffs and snivels and all the kind of viruses that everyone else is getting. So I'm figuring my immune system must be pretty good. And I know the most important thing is that I have bags of energy. I sleep like a baby, and I wake up every day ready to put in a good 12-hour stint or whatever, working or being a mum and stuff. So yeah, it's doable, and I think we have to become our own pharmacists. We have to become our own doctors, and I think you have to empower yourself by understanding what your condition is and how you can help yourself, because the doctors and nurses, they have their job and they have time that they've got to spread across so many patients, and they can't give you the time and the advice that you need, because they're medically bound to not advise certain things. And I think you have to make up your own mind and take control of it yourself. I think it's possible for everyone.
It's wonderful to hear you say these things about how much energy you have and how well you sleep. It's a familiar story. I get a lot of that from my customers who are doing daily ice baths. But what do your kids think of their mom?
Well, do you know, they're quite young, so they're not on social media. So they actually don't know my diagnosis. We chose to kind of shield them from that. When they're old enough, I'll tell them. But I just thought, my youngest, it will almost be her entire life. If I had told them, it's almost been her entire life that I've had this diagnosis. And I'd made a decision not to speak about it to them. We will one day, when I'm ready and when I feel that they're old enough to really understand. But they think I'm probably a bit bonkers for getting in a cold bath every day and like, oh, mummy's in the cold bath, But they get in it as well, they love it.
Wait, what? They get in it with you?
They love it.
Yeah, tell me more. I think moms everywhere want to hear about this.
Yeah. So no, they'll jump in, and normally it's a dare, but they're understanding the benefits of it. And my daughter had a sprained ankle the other night, right? Put the ankle in the cold bath, and they're understanding that actually that is just it's an aid for all of us, and we can all benefit from having it in the house. And we do all benefit from it. So they love it as much as I do. And one day I shall tell them, but at the moment they're just a bit young, and I don't want to worry them. It's kind of, I think to myself, I'm living a normal life, so why worry them at this point in their lives? Because when kids are really young, they go to school, they don't have any filter. They say to the other kid in the playground, oh, my mum's got cancer. Oh, well, she can die from that, and that's what I worry about, because I can obviously regulate how much they know at home. As soon as you're at school, it's a different story. And so maybe I'm wrong for doing that, but I just did instinctively what felt right for us as a family. And so yeah, but they love the cold bath. So
in the meantime, you've found another activity that you can share with your children.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They have plenty of brown fat. The cold is a lot easier on them than it is on us. And sometimes we forget what it was like to be kids, and go out and rush to the beach. And even though it's cold, or play in the snow, but they're still in that mindset where their metabolism will fire right up and make a lot of heat. And they're going to let you know, if they get cold, they're going to say, Mom, can we have some of that hot cocoa, or can we have soup? I mean, they're going to tell you when they're cold. The kids have the wisdom to know.
They really do. And actually, since I've been doing cold plunging, I've given up saying to them, no, you've got to take a coat to school, because I'm so they'll know. They know when they're cold. They're not stupid, But this thing of constantly trying to wrap them up and keep them warm, like, actually, yeah, they're so different to adults, aren't they? In that sense, they'll just happily just run around with nearly nothing on, and It's no
Which is
problem.
the attitude that I want to have about the cold. I want that feeling of being a kid again, you know,
Yeah,
and playing in the snow and just not thinking about it until, well, maybe now it's time to go in, or, you know,
yeah,
maybe now I'm done, or whatever it is. It feels so much more carefree to be in
yeah.
that mindset.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I chat a lot with Dean Hall, with
Oh, Dean is
well,
fantastic.
read his
Yeah.
book recently, which I found so inspiring. And I'm like, oh, wow, and actually he's the one who sort of made me think about the swimming, because I was just doing cold plunges, but I've just so enjoyed swimming. And I always have him in the back of my mind, and his story is just phenomenal, isn't it? And so, yeah, I think it's so important to tell the story, because like you say, I think when you initially get that diagnosis, we are absolutely frozen with fear, and the constantly thinking that this is it for me, that I'm, you know, it's a death sentence. Well, it's not. You can thrive, you can live normally, you can plan a future. And I think that's why I stopped the scans, because I was doing them every 3 months, and I was just in this cycle of thinking, I have 3 months to live. Between now and my next scan, my life was just in these 3-month blocks. It was ridiculous, you know. And so stepping away from that and just going, no, you have permission to make plans and have a future. And I'm so pleased I've done that, because actually what I've managed to achieve in the last 18 months to 2 years is way more than I ever thought I would. And I even have people saying to me, oh, you know, if I was in your boat, I wouldn't have really done that, you know. And you thought, why not? You know, it's not, we have to stop seeing it as a death sentence, and actually it's really hard. It's really, really hard for people, and but it is achievable. Yeah.
For some people, it's not a death sentence, it's a wake-up call.
Yeah.
It's an indication that there are things they should be changing about their life, and it is a super motivation to make those changes. And the changes aren't easy. It's not easy to get into freezing water.
No.
And sometimes your family's going to tell you that you're crazy to do it. But when you get out and everything is so much better, you're reporting the same feeling I have as I begin to crave the cold water. Like, oh, I think I need an ice bath. I should go back in. I'm feeling stressed, or I'm feeling anxious, and I know what to do about that now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I've tried a lot of pain relief. I don't do, not opioids or anything like that, but, you know, just sort of pain relief, and nothing, absolutely nothing works as well as cold water. And that is an instant pain relief for me anyway. And you get out and you think, well, where did that go? It's just kind of dispersed in the water there somehow. And I just find it incredible that something as natural as that is so good. So with farming, and so the other sort of reason I got into it is I practice regenerative agriculture. And one of the things all farmers know is that cold weather, it does wonders for the farm. So when we you know, we're always watching the weather. We have lots of mild winters here in the UK now. You get a cold snap, and every single farmer will say, oh, this is good for the animals, good for the land, good for everything. And you think, why are we not adopting that mindset for ourselves, you know? And you suddenly think, actually, we are so far removed from how we should be living, and we know all these things, but they apply to us as well as the soil and the animals and everything else, you know. It's a reset button. And yeah, it's magic, really.
We know that in the United States, the United Kingdom, in the Western, educated, industrialized, rich, developed countries, what Joe Hendrick calls the weird countries, you know, 90% of the population or more, they live in the cities.
Yeah.
They are disconnected from those seasons, from those rhythms, the day, just the movement of the sun, the temperature. They're not in touch with the same kinds of environment that our ancestors have evolved to be in touch with. And they don't have the same intuitions about it that you're able to tap into. This is partly why it is important for you to share your story, because your, I want to say your instincts, but that's not the right word. Your experience as a farmer gives you an appreciation of complex systems, and you recognize your own body as a complex system. But the people, you know, living in a 4th-story walk-up in London or something like that, I mean, they don't have those experiences. They need to be in, you know, they should come out and see your farm every once in a while. Is what I'm thinking.
It's right. And I think it as well, it's really important to be patient. And I think we tend to expect nowadays a quick fix for everything. You know, we're rushed into the oncologist, the oncologist wants to rush into chemo and radiation surgery. And what you realize is that cancer actually takes years to develop. And so when you get your diagnosis, actually, you've probably had it 10 years already.
Yes.
And so I think it's really important that actually just stop, okay? Read, you've got time, you do have time to make a decision. Don't rush into anything. And I think that's really important. I think we live in a world where everything is, we expect an instant return on everything that we do. And if you are patient, I think we have to practice more patience and realize that things don't get fixed overnight. As you don't become sick overnight, it's going to take a while to get out of this mess. You just have to be patient and keep going, you know. And I think that's, well, it's like the cold plunge, right? You first time you're in it, you're like, can tolerate 10 seconds or whatever. And now I sit in there comfortably for 3 minutes. My husband thinks I'm bonkers. He can do like a minute, and he's like, well, I'm going to do 3 minutes one day. And I'm like, yeah, just keep going. You know, it will happen. And we're so far removed from just letting things happen at the speed that they need to happen, you know.
Do you and your husband ever plunge together?
We don't. Unfortunately, this is pretty tiny. So,
what did you buy?
but we do take turns. Yeah. So
okay.
yeah.
But
No.
which model do you have?
Sorry?
Which model do you have? What did you buy?
One's by the Ice Bath Company, which is a British company, and they have this is the skinny dipper, so it's for people up to sort of 5'10". It's called. It was the cheapest one I could get my hands on, but I mean it's brilliant, and I'm thrilled with it. But it's over here it's still quite a new thing. I mean, obviously it's become very, very popular. Sort of
Russell Brand is out there showing people how to do it, for example.
Yeah, and it has definitely peaked in popularity. But I kind of feel I use it for a different reason to other people. But I wouldn't live without it now.
I agree. I feel the same way. And here's something that you and your husband can try. It doesn't have to be in your skinny dipper, but at the unheated pool, the outdoor pool. It's a good place to do 3 minutes. When you go in together, hold hands, stare into one another's eyes, breathe together, you know, structure your breathing. Just 3 minutes. Let me know if you don't feel deeply attached to one another at the end of those 3 minutes, because I've done this with the woman I'm dating, and it was this overwhelming feeling of love and attachment and affection. And I had to do the research on it. It turns out that all of the neurochemicals, these neurotransmitters of love, whether it's oxytocin or vasopressin or testosterone or dopamine, they're flooded through my brain by the cold. And yet here I am, you know, holding her hands and staring into her face. And I get this, it's like a love potion that happens in the cold water. When you're doing it together, you become closer as a couple. And then maybe he won't think you're bonkers anymore.
Well, I'm definitely going to try that. I love
If
that.
you can talk them into it. Yeah.
It totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This has been wonderful.